100 years ago. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, very, very similar.
We had something, we had certain characteristics I think they were looking
Absolutely,
for.
yeah.
So where did you work for Nokia? In Italy or?
I started in Milano.
Okay.
Yeah. They were launching a new network for an operator that in the meantime doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, wow.
It was called Blue. And they were still in the tendering phase. So they needed to hire a bunch of people to start this whole project, to show the customer that we had a big network of site acquisition contracts, right? They covered all of Italy. But they didn't know if they were going to win the contract. So they needed people who, with the agreement that if we win the deal, you're in, you stay in. If we don't win the deal, thank you very much, goodbye. So they needed people who could take that kind of risk. I was at the beginning of my career. I loved it, absolutely.
Let me ask you a question, because you didn't have much of a technical background. I didn't either.
I didn't even hear the word project management.
Yeah. So what did you contribute to the project management?
I was the project controller. They needed a project controller. But I went from working in this relatively mid-sized hotel in the center of Rome to running a $150 million project and being responsible for the controlling of that project.
My project was $300 million, was a banking IT project. And I know nothing about banking and nothing about IT. Yeah. I was in the project office back then.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And this thing was growing really fast. So we had to set the whole controlling office up. I thought, I've studied about business controlling, how different can project controlling be? Yeah. I realized it's very different. But in any case, they had already hired me by then. And but that's how you start a career. You dive into the deep end and then you see if you can swim. And if you can't, well, you'll figure something else out. Yeah. And that worked fine for me. What I did realize is that I really enjoyed the project environment.
It's awesome, isn't it?
It's so exciting. It's so fertile. It's so constant.
Dynamic.
Absolutely.
It has a lot similar to hotel business, because in hotel business, although you're underpaid, you're allowed to do everything. You're kind of a free floater. You're a freelancer. You can, if there's a problem over here, you can take care of it.
You have to take care of it.
Nobody asks you how old you are or what your rank is. If somebody needs to do it, you do it. And that's very similar in project management.
That's right. Yeah. Someone needs help.
And you have to be charming, because most of your incompetence you have to make up with good social skills.
Sure. Yeah. That's absolutely very true. Yeah. So dealing with people and helping them cope with a difficult situation is just as much part of your interaction and of your job as resolving the actual problem.
Did you stick out amongst your colleagues for the skills you brought from somewhere else?
When I was in hotels?
No, when you were in projects.
I don't know really. I guess I've always a little bit stuck out, no matter what.
I mean, because that's what was my experience. Is I once asked my top project manager, "Why did you pick me?" There was like 10 other candidates who knew more about banking and about IT, and he goes, "I got enough specialists in that area. I was looking for somebody who was great at administration, who had good people skills, who could talk to from the beggar on the street to the board member and not be afraid." Those are some of the qualities that they were looking for, and had good presentation skills, which you do too.
Sure. Yeah. So certainly all that played a role. The ability to not have any intimidation with people you talk to, that surely played a role. However, the guy who hired me, ciao Marco Bertolotti, the guy who hired me was a technical person. In the meantime, had a great career. Last time I heard of him, he was VP for Huawei in Italy, and he asked me a few questions relative. What he needed was somebody who kept the maths together in his project, right? He kept the numbers together. And
attention to detail.
And focus on, am I able to try? And he was not an accountant, so he didn't ask me accounting questions, which was very good because that's definitely not my area. Instead, and now I'll tell you a secret. I never told Marco this, okay? A few days before my interview, this was at the time when we were all looking for a new job. We were all just came out of university. We were all looking for new jobs. And so one of my really good friends, ciao Giuliano, who's then later, by the way, I hired into Nokia. he had just had an interview with another company and told me, Max, they asked me if I know macros on Excel. What the hell are macros?
They just asked my son, who's doing a BA in business management. They just asked him that question.
Really? Okay, but
it's still a hot question, supposedly.
Apparently, yes, but it shouldn't be. I mean, this was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
25? Yeah,
That's
30. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, so what the hell are macros? I don't know what the hell are macros. And so we looked, and I looked it up, and I found out what macros are. I found out there's a little thing called a recording, so I knew I could more or less use that. I've discovered that something called Visual Basic exists. And I also discovered that there's a bunch of stuff that you can just copy paste, put it in there. And if you read it, you can kind of figure out what it says, even though I can't write it. So this was my knowledge. And Marco asks me if I know macros. Me and macros, come on. And so I told him, well, yeah, I know I can use the recorder and I can read a Visual Basic. I said everything was true, but it was clear that it was very open to me. And so that convinced him that I am a numbers guy and I'm nerdy enough to be part of his team.
And you made up with whatever you didn't know. You made up with blood, sweat, and tears, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the midnight. The midnight oil was burnt, definitely.
Did you ever have, so you're an autodidact, like most, it used to be tradition as a project manager that you learned
for yourself
by being thrown in the water. Was there ever a stage where you got some formal training and certification?
I got a certification towards the end of my career in Nokia.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it was 2006 or 2007.
Do you know Seppo Harminen?
Yeah, of course.
Did you work together with him at all?
No, I didn't.
Say hello to Seppo.
Hi, Seppo. Yeah, I know Seppo, absolutely. Yeah. But I know him from later.
Yeah. Okay.
The certification that I did, the PMP certification, was relatively late, 2006.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little bit older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.